Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a really interesting stack of material in front of us today.
Yeah, it looks fascinating.
Essentially, a deep dive into the world of a Silicon Valley startup called HLT, humanity's latest toy.
Right.
Our source material comes from a book titled Go Where the Wind Takes You.
Mhm.
Now, this isn't just, a standard business case study.
No, not at all. It's much more narrative, rich with ambition, complex human relationships,
Some pretty intense ethical dilemmas, too, it seems.
definitely. And this underlying search for meaning, right in the heart of the high-pressure tech world.
That's absolutely right. Think of our mission today as extracting the most important nuggets from this source.
Okay.
We want to explore the journeys of the founders, the people around them, as they try to build something revolutionary.
Something that turns out to be, well, quite controversial.
And along the way, we're going to see the incredible pressures of fundraising,
Oh, yeah. Always huge.
the inevitable clashes of personality and vision that happen in a startup.
Hmm.
And really, the deeply personal costs involved in pursuing that kind of success in the valley.
Yeah, it takes a toll.
So get ready to delve into that intensity and the surprising questions it raises about what it even means to be human.
So setting the stage for us, the story begins with Romano. He's the initial solo founder.
Right.
He's in that classic uh, bootstrap startup phase, intensely focused on getting the MVP, the minimum viable product, ready.
The clock is ticking.
Absolutely. He's running out of his personal savings fast.
It's that absolute do or die mode, but the source shows us something interesting, even in that intensity.
Yeah.
He's taking these reflective walks, noticing the natural world around him, trees, flowers, things he'd been missing while just glued to his screen.
Uh-huh. A moment of clarity, maybe?
But it triggers this sense of melancholy, too.
Yeah.
He's thinking about death, about people he's lost, contemplating not being versus everything he's known as to be.
Wow. Deep stuff for a founder grinding away.
Yeah, this internal question, has he become a prisoner of his own mind?
And the physical space he's in reflects this struggle. He's working from a high-rise, open-plan layout, supposedly for productivity.
Rented cheaply, right.
Like-
A bigger company left.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But paradoxically, it has this incredibly scenic view of the ocean.
So it's like this constant reminder.
Yeah, a visual representation of the disconnect between the intense grind and the wider world.
While he's in this headspace, he has a young coder helping him out.
Okay.
This kid is on a contract basis, offered equity, but he's spending a lot of work time on his phone on dating apps like awesomecupid.com.
The classic startup distraction.
Romano notices this and makes some observations like the tight and light comment about Asian women.
Romano, coming from a really studious background, finds this frustrating. He wants the coder focused.
Right. He's thinking, why waste time on these apps when connection is just everywhere?
Which naturally leads us to Romano's own past relationship with Maya.
Mm-hmm.
They met in a college hiking club. Initially, she actually snubbed him.
Oh.
Yeah, but they later connected deeply over literature, both big readers.
But there was a contrast in how they saw the world.
A fundamental contrast. Romano was analytical, precision-focused, especially after working in tech where ambiguity is, frowned upon.
Precision is key in coding.
Exactly. Maya, in contrast, felt things. She would tell him he shouldn't always strive for precision.
That ambiguity is part of romance.
That's what she argued, yeah. The hallmark of romance and sensuality.
He really struggled to understand what the source calls her prevaricating ways.
Yeah, and he harbored this worry that she secretly wanted to leave him for a rich executive in the valley.
Someone who could give her a different lifestyle.
Right, someone who could help her achieve her materialistic dreams. He resented those attitudes, especially contrasting them with his own relative poverty at the time.
All this pressure, this sense of running out of time, coupled with this key realization.
The classic startup nugget.
Yeah, that ideas are dime a dozen, execution is everything.
That-
It solidified his need for outside investors. Angels, VCs,
But even more critically,
a technical co-founder.
yes, and that's what drove him to start frequenting hackerspace.
So while Romano is on this intense solo grind, looking for his next step, let's shift gears completely.
Okay.
Let's look at the path that brings Markendia Saxena, or Mark, to that same hackerspace.
His story starts very differently. Small, static town in India.
A place primarily connected to the bigger world only by a highway, right? To
Yeah.
cities like Mumbai, New Delhi.
Exactly. His father was a military doctor, described as hot-tempered, demanding.
But also forward-thinking.
Surprisingly advanced in his attitudes towards technology and medicine, yeah. He had clear expectations. His kids would become engineers or doctors.
Mark, though, was different, more of a dreamer.
Yes. He hated the rote memorization, the cramming required by the school system.
How did he cope?
He found escape through fantasy, which the source says he felt led to his moral and physical decay. Sounds a bit dramatic, but...
He just desperately yearned for a way out, to the wider world.
And a really pivotal figure enters his life at this point. His uncle Sukant.
Ah, the cool uncle.
Totally.
Yeah.
His father's brother, bachelor, stylish, popular with women. He'd returned to India to teach English.
Made a big impression.
A deep impression on Mark. Confidence, well-traveled. He shares stories of Iraq, Turkey, Germany.
Became a mentor figure.
Absolutely. Their bond grew. Mark sought him out for help with English prose, and Uncle Sukant really inspired Mark's confidence, his tenacity.
Which was crucial for that engineering entrance exam.
Crucial. It was notoriously difficult. Getting into the institute was his first real step out of that semi-rural world.
A big adjustment, I imagine.
Huge. Cosmopolitan environment, navigating cultural differences, learning to shrug, using hi instead of namaste, speaking English constantly with classmates from diverse backgrounds.
Academically demanding, too.
Relentless. Constant exams. But he did well, even won a robotic design competition.
And eventually he moves to this new country, to the Valley.
Right. And initially, he's really intrigued by things like strip clubs, something completely alien to him.
He tries to connect, even there.
Yeah. Asks a stripper to be his girlfriend, has a lap dance encounter. But a colleague kind of tempers his view, explains the stigma.
Even in a supposedly modern place.
Exactly. And this experience, combined with observing the mercenary nature of the society.
Where money equals smiles.
That's how we saw it, yeah.
Yeah.
A direct and strong correlation. It starts creating this sense of disenchantment.
His life starts feeling routine.
Like a for loop, the source says. A jaded routine. He starts questioning if this is the utopia he toiled so hard for.
He has other attempts at connection that don't quite pan out.
Right, trying to talk to a yoga girl he sees, or a woman from a housing app.
She mentioned the nonverbal communication thing.
Yeah, that eighthly percent is nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
Highlighting the gap between engineering logic and understanding humans.
But amidst this feeling of disconnection, he meets Lucy in college.
Yes. She likes sushi. Which is funny because he initially didn't.
He acquired the taste.
He did. And in turn, he introduces her to classic Indian dishes, chicken tikka masala, aloo paratha.
Butter chicken, garlic naan.
All the good stuff. And she ends up loving it, even nagging him to take her out for it.
The source touches on an interesting cultural contrast through them, too. Race versus caste.
Right. Lucy grew up where race relations were openly discussed. Mark compares this to the intense caste consciousness back home.
Finds the Valley's focus puzzling.
Puzzling, but less all-consuming than caste in his experience.
So we have these two distinct paths, Romano's and Mark's, converging at Hackerspace.
Finally. Romano shows Mark his early prototype.
And the conversation immediately goes to
Funding. The absolute critical need for funding. Mark admits he's new, lacks VC connections.
So they decide both of them need to try, sending emails out.
And those rejections were brutal, weren't they?
The source uses Total Eclipse of the Heart playing in the cafe.
Captures the despair perfectly. Months go by, refining the plan, working the product. No bites from investors.
And then, almost out of nowhere,
Serendipity strikes. Mark has this conversation with Jassy, the cafe owner.
who turns out to be an angel investor.
Exactly. And we get Jassy's perspective here. He's actively looking for disruptive ideas, bored with generic pitches,
He sees Nimona, the cafe owner and student.
in the constant stream of tech workers. The source delves into Jassy's relationship with Nimona.
It sounds complicated and quite troubled.
It's portrayed as complex, yeah. They met at the cafe, he helped her with math, intimacy developed, but it's described as transactional.
She expects gifts, help,
Yeah.
avoids labels.
Right. And Jassy's internal reflections on her, as recounted in the source, are quite disturbing and objectifying.
Just to be clear, we're reporting the nature of the relationship as depicted in the source material here.
Absolutely. Amidst these personal complexities, Jassy gets the email from Markindia Saxena of HLT.
Humanity's latest toy.
The name sparks his interest. He sees potential for something truly revolutionary, a killer product.
So HLT pitches him, introducing Robeasts.
Not just robots, they say. More intelligent, almost like living creatures. Electric energy, human-like personality, consciousness.
Jassy pushes back. Emotional robots. Unpredictable. Why pay?
HLT's argument. The market for simple chore robots is saturated. Customers want more. There's software, Computer vision simulates perception. It's one notch up.
Jassy sees the potential for huge financial upside, billionaire ambition.
Yeah. And this is where that key conceptual debate emerges. AC versus AI.
Artificial consciousness.
Mark introduces it, distinguishing it from standard artificial intelligence.
Jassy's skeptical. Can machines truly be conscious? Is it just marketing buzz?
Mark insists they have much more.
Which leads to the funding negotiation.
They ask for $2 million for 20%.
Jassy's counter.
Much tougher, 51% for the same $2 million.
Wow. Majority control.
Yeah. HLT rejects it.
That uncertainty after the pitch, it's really palpable. Back to square one.
Questioning how long they can keep going, Mark even has that phantom dream stuck in a swamp.
But eventually funding does come through.
Initial funding, yes. Source doesn't specify if it was Jassy's deal modified or from elsewhere.
Allows them to move to a new office. 2 rooms, but with a view.
And get paychecks again, after 2 years without salary. Huge relief, but...
Always strings attached. Pressure to hit milestones for the next round.
Exactly. Jassy, now an investor, requests a meeting. Romano's excited, ready to talk achievements.
But Jassy wants to grill them. Execution focus.
Totally. Demanding specifics, testing coverage, bug fixes, sprint progress, code coverage, the nitty-gritty.
And this meeting really makes the clash of visions explicit.
Crystal clear. Jassy wants B2B, business to business.
Romano's set on B2C direct to consumers.
Jassy's blunt. Says their current direction offers nothing unique.
And it's here that Jassy's really extreme vision surfaces.
Yeah, this is wild. Using the human genome sequence to engineer a species like game theory economic agents.
With the goal of enslaving humanity.
Chillingly, yes. He describes this future corporation wanting submissive, stunted humans good at math CS, or just consuming.
And robeasts replace manual labor.
Again, just recounting the viewpoints presented in the source material here. It's pretty dark stuff.
Romano is deeply troubled by this, the ethical conflict.
Understandably. Worries about global catastrophe, enslavement. He sees the corporation's vision reflected in the desired robeast traits.
Self-interested, rational, logical, devoid of human emotion.
Disturbingly similar. It forces the question, what are they actually building?
As HLT starts to grow, the workplace dynamics become a big part of the story. Hiring begins.
Yep, posting ads, hotshot coder wanted, interviews, offering half salary plus equity standard early stage stuff.
And this is where we meet Kay, or Kumar.
The interview with Mark. Description's vivid. Al Pacino look, confident stride.
And the smell of marijuana.
Right. Kay shares his background. Came over at 3, coding since 12, started pot in high school, medical license. Claims he codes 12 hours straight on Indica.
Mark asks about hobbies, probably hoping for.
The one-dimensional coder. Yeah.
Plum Kay's response.
Blunt. No other hobbies, man. I just code and fuck.
Mark's startled. Kay clarifies fuck is fornication. Confident guy, boisterous.
Very. Talks projects, known at Hackerspace as the coolest guy, gets pot delivered. Shares relationship philosophies.
When it comes to terms,
He asks for 5% equity as founding engineer. Higher than expected, Mark discusses with Romano.
but they hire him anyway.
They do. Good cultural fit, strong coder that wins out. Romano's thinking costs, investor approval.
Mark follows up to seal the deal. Slight exaggeration about the funding source.
A little white lie about a well-known VC firm. Tries the personal touch beer, whiskey. Finds Kay only likes specific scotch. Particular guy.
Kay shares more about his life awesome Cupid struggles, thinking of building his own dating app, a recent online hookup.
Then there's another engineer under Mark, Nada.
Very different background. Orthodox Brahmin. Struggles with flirting women. Feels like a social idiot.
Has trouble reading nonverbal cues, hair fling, smiles. Believes in direct language. That eighthly percent nonverbal thing is lost on him.
And Kay tries to teach him.
Yeah, Kay takes on this role. Offers blunt, cynical advice. Gentleman versus brute. Confidence makes them wet. Bad boys succeed, knowing when to back off.
We see the office dynamics. Nada observes Kay with Rose from accounting.
And the source includes Kay's objectifying descriptions of her body.
Nada himself is experiencing loneliness. New country, work is everything, sits in cafes.
Right. And in one cafe encounter, he sees 2 men discussing the Bible.
He gets curious.
Yeah, realizes they're non-denominational Christians.
Yeah.
Asks about their sect. Politely declines an invitation to join. It shows his curiosity, but also his isolation.
Daisy is introduced the office assistant, finds work boring, likes chatting.
Catches Kay's attention. Single. They start going to lunch.
Her backgrounds mention 2 mothers' financial struggles post-divorce, Daisy's need for independence.
This connection leads to them staying late. Dinner out. Daisy asks about the company. Kay's optimistic.
Then preparations for a trade show. Kay's the tech guy.
And Daisy accompanies him, staffing the booth, offering T-shirts explicitly instead of booth babes.
Both excited to get out of the valley grind.
At the trade show, dinner at a French place, Kay is food connoisseur. Romantic music.
Daisy asks about work. Kay invites her to his room. 15 minutes to watch TV.
Yeah. The source recounts the hotel encounter from Kay's perspective. Describes the sex, the two bodies with one soul feeling. Notes the coworker romance taboo heightened the sensation.
And Daisy leaves hurriedly at 2 a.m., again presenting the incident as described in the source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The trade show itself is a success for HLT. Hundreds sign up for beta interest. Kay attends calls with Mark Romano. Euphoric convention scene ideas, riches, balloons, booth babes are back.
Single engineers chatting with Daisy is noted too.
After the show, Romano calls Kay, asks directly if he got laid.
Kay claims he was busy.
Yeah. They discuss cheating. Kay jokes about coding versus courtship, the 18th century aristocrats line.
But then the situation turns serious.
Sure.
Daisy reports the incident to Romano.
Makes serious allegations. Romano internally ponders consensual sex as rape, relaying the source's description and Romano's reaction neutrally.
Romano's reaction reveals a lot. He was apparently contemplating suicide just before this landed on him. He questions Daisy's claim just friggin' as sex, notes her provocative dress, considers Kay's confident manner, wonders if Kay would actually commit rape.
But the overriding factor.
Finances. HLT has no money, huge cash burn rate, desperately needs Series A. He concludes he can't afford to fire his star developer over unsubstantiated allegations.
A brutal ethical compromise driven by pressure.
Mark hears about it too. Initial reaction, hope they sort it out themselves.
But he's under intense pressure from investors for reports. The issue slipped through his mind.
Romano and Mark discuss it. Mark talked to Kay, who denied rape, said it didn't seem to imply it.
Kay speculates Daisy might be claiming it for money.
The dire financial situation seems to seal their decision. No action against Kay, maintaining neutrality on the portrayal.
Compounding this, Mark's personal life takes a huge hit. Lucy sends divorce notice.
He paid for her MBA, she met someone else.
Seems so. Spark faded after 7 years. He reflects on wanting a stable wife like his mother, how men took women for granted back home. Deep sadness, loneliness.
Here's the coders typing, sirens outside. Worried about K-Daisy, Jassy plotting, product delays, everything converging.
And his perspective on Robeast comes back. Refused to believe beings were just electrons, protons.
But now sees Robeasts as algorithms.
And notes customers dislike the idea of a Robeast with a soul. Value is in following orders.
Mark does try to address Kay's pot use, wants him to quit.
Frames it as company image, not wanting addict teammates.
Kay's philosophical addiction sneaks up.
Yeah, but Mark pushes him for his health, company image.
All this intense pressure seems to culminate in a profound search for meaning for Romano.
Working late, 2 a.m. Notices water drops amazing he hadn't heard them. Feels emptiness.
Questions wealth. Would 10 million really change his life? Same t-shirt, same bed, maybe worse, sleep from insecurity.
Yearns for something more. Fulfillment to his soul, quench angst. Indestructible, infinite power.
Can't find an answer. Retreats to coding. It's easier, defined. Forgets the world's potential destruction.
His internal state is captured in those poetic reflections. Me, my, mine, thrust in hunger. All life is decay.
Sentimental fools defeated by passions. Questions God, white elephant conspicuous by his absence. Believes in laws of the jungle, power.
Laments stupidity, worries if he's smart enough, questions evil relative concept, notes how evil people resemble Robeasts. Self-interested, rational, logical, emotionless.
Nada, the engineer, also brings up deeper questions with Romano.
Right, reading about the atomic bomb scientists. Enjoyed the work, but handed power to politicians who used it destructively. Worries Robeast could be used to control humanity.
Romano's response is pragmatic, almost dismissive.
Tells Nada, don't worry, focus on stock options, compensation. Let the market decide. It'll be a boon for our well-being.
Compares himself to a tattoo artist without tattoos. Detached.
Nada counters. He does care about long-term consequences, hates tunnel vision, talks human mind's destructive potential, Buddhist teachings on control.
Romano sees advanced civilization as technological. Airplanes, spaceships, AC, application of mind.
Nada sees it differently. Evolves soul, empathy, compassion, respect for nature. Robeasts having better brains isn't more civilized.
Says he doesn't aspire to be a technologically advanced, uncivilized person. It's how you use attributes, not just having them.
A real clash of values there.
There's also that brief, interesting intercultural dialogue. Romano asks about a locked Vishnu temple, thinking monotheistically.
Nada explains Vishnu is an idea in Hinduism. Anyone can create a temple. Different concept of spirituality.
These intense pressures unfortunately lead to tragedy. An engineer working for Nada takes his own life.
In the office conference room.
With a shotgun.
A disaster requires PR management. Serendi's approach.
Issue sadness statement. Counter family's work stress claim using girlfriend statement. Emphasize work-life balance, even if a lie.
Lies don't get noticed, unless associated with money. Cynical.
Points to Romano's vacation email. Company perks, food, gym, sleeping rooms. The golden net trapping employees.
Mark's boss questions him. Did they overwork him? Boss knows everyone works late, but pressures Mark about bugs for launch. Links tragedy to the task.
Mark feels like a scapegoat. Considers quitting the Faustian bargain. But pictures, daughter, wife, mortgage, feels trapped.
Alongside this, Mark experiences profound personal loss. Missed messages from Uncle Sukant due to an email update.
Calls home. When his uncle passed away?
Hits him hard. Grief, sadness, heavy drinking, regret, hating his selfish, ambitious ways, not visiting last year due to deadlines. Too late now.
The source really draws that poignant contrast. Mark's private grief versus the public crisis, the relentless pressure, personal and professional colliding.
In the aftermath, a new connection. Mara, the Danish yoga woman.
Embodiment of focus, concentration, certified by Indian Guru.
Mark meets her at an HLT offsite resort. They went after Series A funding, needed a break, sees her teaching yoga, struck by her magic, connects on social media.
She later comes to California to teach nearby, stays with someone else. Mark offers a room, she declines.
She starts teaching Mark yoga at his home, 14-day challenge. Pushes him hard.
And he sleeps well, mind-cleansing deep sleep. Something he desperately needed.
Intimacy grows. Invites her for dinner. Don Giovanni, landmark Italian place. She declines initially. Invites her for a walk instead.
A walk by the San Francisco Bay. Beautiful view, skyscrapers, bridge, joggers. Mark used to come here for peace. Mara's mesmerized.
He slides his hand around her waist. She doesn't object. His thoughts of her intensify. Wants to sculpt her soul.
We get her impression too. Impressed by his focus on HLT, passion for tech, feels people like him were born just for her. Their visions align somehow. Meeting feels like a culmination of his dream for an adventurous life.
They do eventually have dinner at Don Giovanni, ambiance Italian waiter, talk about the first yoga class.
Connection deepens. Flirty exchanges, squeezing hands. Two bodies but one soul now, looking into each other's eyes.
A comparison emerges. Mara versus Lucy. Mara's simplicity traveling economy to India appeals to Mark's background. Contrasts with Lucy's perceived materialism. Mara has not come here to become great, superficially.
They discuss her staying in California versus Copenhagen, cold and rainy. Mara finds California overrated, but could live there.
Prompting Mark's in my arms.
The conversation turns to HLT's product. Mara asks what they make. Mark explains robeasts. More intelligent, almost human intelligence. Artificial consciousness.
Mara playfully suggests teaching them yoga to develop a soul.
Mark's response is fascinating. Claims they already have a soul. Just talk to them. Poses the question, can a machine have a soul? Can a human being with a soul be like a machine?
A central question the book keeps returning to.
Mara later questions HLT's practices. Employees working like slaves, especially immigrants on visas.
Mark counters with the startup grind arguments. No free lunches, no pain, no gain. Hell is the only way to get to heaven.
Mara runs out of counter-arguments.
Yeah.
Those philosophies are deeply ingrained in that culture.
Their journey takes them to India, Mara's first time. Chaos, crowds, street hawkers.
She's enthusiastic. Haggles for a Vishnu idol. Mark warns her about Delhi thugs, referencing Trickster of Delhi.
They immerse themselves. Coffee house, Indian cuisine, Mara becomes a connoisseur. Historical sites.
Mark reflects on India's history, kingdoms dissolving, shift to democracy, assimilation, Buddhist mantras, awe. Realizes transformations need men with visions, not just daydreaming.
The three-wheeler rickshaw ride is exotic for Mara. Chaotic scenes are a welcome change from robotic existence.
Hospitality at the Airbnb stands out. Young host, kind, gentle. Touches Mara. Host asks Mark about Mara being foreign.
They take a train journey to his uncle's town, skipping the Taj Mahal for now. This trip is for his uncle.
Mara finds the train station exciting. Spontaneity, lack of order disconcerting but novel.
Arrival, met by Ramu, the caretaker, running the school funded by the uncle. Impressive house versus surroundings. Kids playing.
Visit the uncle's house. Veranda, library full of English classics. Uncle was modern for the village Western toilet, AC.
Ramu recounts the uncle's final days, visiting friends, smoking, drinking against orders, indigestion, too many tablets, brain hemorrhage, died en route to hospital.
Hearing this, Mark's emotions well up. Brink of crying, self-loathing for his selfish, ambitious ways, hating himself for not visiting. Too late.
His final reflection in India is incredibly profound and sad. Sees Mara and Ramu talking, notes connection beyond language.
Observes Mara's serene face, contrasts it with his own appearance, chubby tummy versus his sick soul mind. Feels his greedy mind has gnawed away at his soul, leaving him hollow.
And that's largely where the source leaves us with these threads, though the book gives glimpses of where some end up later.
Right, the epilogue offers a final look.
Yes. For instance, Kay becomes CTO of a new company, creating the next toy for humanity for rich, idle people.
Still hanging out at the Irish pub, smoking, drinking.
Yep, surrounded by engineers needing release, has an American girlfriend, goes to baseball games, a certain kind of success, a continued lifestyle.
And Mara.
Moves back to Denmark, opens an excellent yoga studio, teaches passionately, misses California sunshine, but prefers the Danish base.
The source doesn't give explicit final fates for everyone, Romano, Mark, Jassy, others, but implies their paths continue, shaped by all this.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This deep dive into HLT's world, its people, it leaves us with so much to consider.
Absolutely.
We've seen how that intense pursuit of tech advancement, financial success, the Silicon Valley engine, can become deeply intertwined with and often conflict with personal well-being, ethics, the simple human need for connection, for meaning.
From the driving ambition of Romano and Mark, through the complex, sometimes disturbing dynamics with Jassy, Kay, Nada.
To the profound personal journeys, losses, the ethical choices they face.
This story really challenges us, forces us to think about the true cost of innovation, what progress even means.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? As we navigate our own careers, our lives, facing pressures, making choices, perhaps this deep dive prompts you to ask, in a world increasingly defined by technology and ambition, how do you define success?
Is it just career milestones, wealth?
Or is there something more? A truly civilized, meaningful life that includes empathy, connection, soul.
Is the difference between a human with a soul and a machine with artificial consciousness just a matter of degree?
Or is there some fundamental, maybe indefinable difference? It's a question worth mulling over long after this deep dive is done.